Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still struggling at this exact breakout level as the price just wiped out liquidity to the downside, but we now have new price targets being revealed just above the price of Bitcoin on this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside other important Bitcoin price charts, and of course, talking about altcoins with Solana now retesting a critical area of support, while the price of XRP is just trying to hold on to this critical line of support here. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And if we're taking a look at this weekly time frame right here, of course, we're still lacking bullish momentum in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. And looking at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have a major bearish divergence on the weekly chart with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI. So overall, we're looking more bullish than bearish when we're talking about the larger trend or the bull market, but at least for now, we're still lacking bullish momentum. And so obviously not a lot has changed over the last one day on the weekly time frame, but taking a look at the 3-day time frame, it's a similar situation. Once again, we're still lacking momentum to either direction, so it's not like we're overly bullish or overly bearish. Once again, we're looking relatively neutral on the larger time frame. So yes, we can see short-term bullish and short-term bearish moves, but when we're talking about these much larger moves on the larger time frames, don't necessarily expect one of those larger moves, at least right now. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, obviously the price of Bitcoin is sitting just underneath a very important line on the chart, which is that 110K level. We could see multiple rejections at approximately 110,000, give or take. And obviously 110,000 is very close to the all-time high, which is closer towards around 112,000. And so this would be a massive level on the chart to actually break out above. And obviously that would help to confirm this massive bullish price pattern, a cup and handle pattern, setting up a huge price target towards the upside. But obviously, we're still waiting for confirmation. We're still waiting for a confirmed breakout. Candle closes confirming above, ideally 110,000, and ideally here on the 3-day time frame, actually confirming here. And so in the meantime, continue to expect some resistance around this level. But as I've said recently here on the channel, even if we confirm a breakout above 110,000, once again, all of these other charts are still showing us that we're lacking momentum towards the upside and to the downside. So whether we see a rejection here or a breakout, don't necessarily expect a massive vertical move, for example. And so let's just say if we break out and confirm the price target, it's not like we're just going to go straight towards that price target, a straight line towards the upside. What is a much more likely scenario is that if we first confirm a breakout, would likely just sort of move towards the upside like this. But once again, we're still lacking momentum. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, looking at some support and resistance, we still have a lot of support at around 103,000 and also at around 98,000 if the price were to get back to those levels. And when it comes to resistance, we have a lot of resistance at approximately 110,000 and 112,000. And obviously just recently we rejected from pretty much exactly 110,000. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart over the last one day, we've seen a bit of a short-term pullback and a possible retest of this level. But as of recording this video, we're just about to see the daily candle close. So by the time you're watching this video, we would have already likely seen the daily candle close actually confirm here. And for as long as this daily candle close confirms, ideally at the very lowest above 108,000, but ideally above 108.5K, for as long as we confirm ideally once again above 108.5K, then we could potentially still just call this a retest if we bounce very soon. But especially if we confirm candle closes back below 108,000, in that situation, essentially this was just a failed breakout and essentially a fake out, and that would invalidate the breakout towards the upside and invalidate this price pattern. And so once again, as I always say, even if we break out above a certain price pattern, setting up a certain price target, we cannot ignore other points of support and resistance where the price could likely struggle at or turn around at. And that's exactly what we just saw at close to 110,000 once again. And if we're taking a look at this 12-hour time frame, once again, we're still seeing a slight increase in volatility compared to around a week ago, which is at least better than just seeing boring straight sideways price action that we were seeing roughly around a week ago. And if we're zooming into the 6-hour time frame, of course, over the last one day, we've just now confirmed a 6-hour candle close back below this area on the price chart, sitting in between 108.5K to 109,000. So technically speaking, that's a short-term bearish signal. And once again, a sign that we are losing bullish momentum. Once again, we can drift slightly towards the upside like this. Just don't necessarily expect massive momentum towards the upside, as I've been saying this entire time. And so in the immediate short term, technically, we're looking slightly more bullish than bearish, considering the higher lows and the higher highs, at least for now, just on the 6-hour time frame. And of course, we've only just broken below one key level, but overall, once again, we're still forming higher lows. And if we're looking at the momentum on these larger time frames, we have not seen a bearish crossover or anything. So overall, we're looking more bullish than bearish. Just don't expect massive momentum towards the upside is all I'm saying. And when it comes to support and resistance on this time frame, on the short term here, I'd now expect a lot of support in this area if we continue a bit more of a pullback, sitting in between around 105.5k to 106.5k. And I'd now expect some resistance in between 108.5k to 109,000, and major resistance once again in between around 110,000 to 110.5k, which is pretty much exactly where we rejected from. So as always, we cannot ignore these points of resistance where the price could likely struggle at or reject from. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see that just over the last one day, we actually took out some short-term liquidity towards the downside here that just started building at above 108,000, around 108.3k to 108.4k, give or take. And now that we've wiped out that liquidity, we have a little bit more building to the downside in the short term, but most of it is above the price of Bitcoin, as we could see. And so in the immediate short term, we have a small amount of liquidity building at around 106.7k to 106.8k. So just keep in mind, in the immediate short term, it could be a likely scenario that we see a slight little dip just to take out that liquidity right there. But overall, like I just said, most of the liquidity in the short term is building above the price at around 110.6k to 110.8k. So basically just under 111,000. And so honestly, I would not be surprising to see the price of Bitcoin take out both of these levels of liquidity. Maybe we see a little bit more of a dip and then another test of these areas of resistance. But once again, continue to expect resistance in these areas now. So if, for example, we head towards that upside liquidity, once again, expect the price to struggle or possibly reject from these areas on the price chart. But overall, once again, if you're paying attention, we're basically in a sideways price range, just bouncing around in between support and resistance, seeing short-term bullish and short-term bearish moves. So keep that in mind. Once again, we're looking relatively neutral when it comes to the trend or the momentum. And as always, if you want to get set up ready to go to take these trading opportunities in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking a lot of crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this sign up page where you can claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to $45,000 in trading bonuses and also deposit bonuses. For example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your BTNX account. But that's only if you use the link below this video to make your BTNX account. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also 2bits as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I will also make sure to leave a link to 2bits below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, where you can also claim some massive trading bonuses. For example, up to $50,000 in trading bonuses, and also a $30 sign-up bonus and a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your 2bit account, but only if you use that link. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well get set up ready to go using the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim these massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and currently Ethereum is also still in a major sideways price range, as we can see, bouncing around between support and resistance. And so as of right now, the important line of support to pay attention to is this area, still sitting in between around 2380 to 2.4k. And when it comes to resistance, we still have a lot of resistance in between around 2.7k to 2.8k. And overall, once again, while we're still in a sideways price range, when it comes to the price structure or the momentum on the price chart, we're looking relatively neutral. Obviously, we could see short-term bullish moves and short-term bearish moves if we're looking at just the day-to-day price action, but overall, we're just in a sideways price range, bouncing around between support and resistance. And so not a lot has changed over the last one day in that regard. And if we're taking a look at the 2-hour time frame, obviously just over the last one day, we've seen a continued pullback in the price of ETH here on the 2-hour chart, thanks to this short-term bearish divergence. Obviously, I warned about this in my last video right around here, give or take. I said we've now confirmed a new bearish divergence, and we're most likely going to see a little bit more of a pullback, or at best, a bit of choppy sideways price action. And of course, over the last one day, that's exactly what has now played out. And technically speaking, as of recording this video, we've not yet actually invalidated this bearish divergence, so it is still possible we could play it out a little longer, maybe over the next few hours, maybe over the next day, give or take. But overall, as we can see, we've already played it out for the last 1 to 2 days now. And if we're looking at the last bearish divergence, which confirmed and played out on the 2-hour Ethereum price chart, this is pretty much what we saw. And so I'll not necessarily rely too heavily on this bearish divergence any longer. Once again, it can still possibly play out for a little longer. Just be aware that very soon, most likely over the next day, give or take, it could possibly invalidate, at least based on the fact that this is only the 2-hour time frame. So we're only talking about very short-term moves here. But overall, not a lot has changed over the last one day for Ethereum. We're still playing out very similar price action as to what I've been saying recently here on the channel. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame, Solana just now, as of recording this video, is retesting a crucial area of support again, which is sitting in between around 143 to 146 approximately. And at least so far, once again, as of recording this video, we are currently holding that as support. And so obviously it's very important for the price of Solana to actually hold above this area, because if we confirm candle closes on the daily time frame below around 143, in that situation, it would be very likely we would at least see a drop down towards around 138 to 139. We could find some support around there, but honestly, it could be quite likely it will just retrace back down towards this local low here at around 125 to 126, or possibly find some support first of all at around 131 based on the daily candle closes here. But overall, once again, we're simply lacking momentum to either direction. We're not looking overly bullish or overly bearish. As I've been saying this entire time, don't expect a massive movement straight towards the upside or towards the downside, because we just don't have that sort of momentum on the market right now. And so obviously that means that that possible inverse head and shoulders pattern has struggled to confirm over the last one day, because like I said in my last video, we needed to see a confirmed breakout above ideally 158 in order to actually confirm this price pattern. So at least for now, this is not confirmed at all, which means the price target never came into play. And in order to confirm this price pattern, we'll need to very quickly see a breakout here above basically 158 with candle closes above that level. But at this stage in the market, it's looking very unlikely now that this would actually confirm, because if we, for example, continue a bit more of a cool off here, just consolidating sideways, or a bit more of a pullback for another few days, then essentially the right shoulder would be too large for the inverse head and shoulders pattern to actually confirm. And so overall, just expect very neutral price action in the short term, bouncing around sideways. And as I always say, follow what Bitcoin is doing. If Bitcoin, for example, plays out a certain move, a lot of the altcoins will likely play out a similar move. So definitely pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing, and pay attention to my Bitcoin analysis if you're just an altcoin holder or an altcoin trader. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, it's a similar situation for XRP. We're now retesting a key level on the price chart after just perfectly rejecting from my exact area of resistance, still sitting in between around 231 to 235. And so continue to expect a lot of resistance in that exact price range. Once again, as I've already been saying here on the channel since before we perfectly rejected from that exact price range. And as for support, we could find some short-term support at roughly 219 to 220. But if we start breaking below that level, we could possibly retrace back down towards this major area of support here, sitting in between around $2.05 to $2.10, acting as significant support. But overall, we can clearly see that the price is basically just in the sideways price range, chopping around between roughly $2.05 and $2.35. That is the current sideways price range for the price of XRP, looking relatively neutral when it comes to the trend or the momentum. And then, of course, during the sideways price range, we can see short-term bullish and short-term bearish moves. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term, looking at the 8-hour time frame, at least as of recording this video, we're right on the edge of a possible break to the downside here, but we've not yet technically confirmed a candle close on the 8-hour time frame below this ascending line of support, which is currently sitting at roughly around $2.21 to $2.22, give or take. But if we start confirming 8-hour candle closes below this level, then technically speaking, that would confirm the break to the downside for this bearish rising wedge pattern, the opposite to a falling wedge. And a rising wedge would set up a price target at the bottom of the wedge, sitting at roughly $2. But like I explained in my last video, between the current price and that possible $2 price target, which is not yet in play, once again, we need to see a break below this line to actually confirm that price target. But if that were to come into play, obviously it would likely find support between the current price and that possible price target. So keep that in mind. But overall, honestly, expect the price to just stay in this sideways price range at least for the next few days, possibly a number of weeks. So once again, a grid bot trading strategy, as I've been saying recently here on the channel many times, would be a perfect trading strategy. As always, not financial advice, but a grid bot would be making a lot of money right now, very easily, very passively in a sideways price range just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, taking a quick look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, and it's a very similar situation for Chainlink. Once again, we're lacking momentum to either direction. So even if we see a bit of a short-term bullish move or short-term bearish move, overall, we're not looking overly bearish or overly bullish. We're basically just bouncing around sideways with a very, very slight bullish bias. So we're slowly drifting towards the upside, and we're talking about the somewhat shorter term trend here, or the price structure. But overall, once again, looking relatively neutral, lacking momentum. And the current sideways price range for Chainlink is in between roughly 1260 to around 1380. So we have some support in between 1260 to 1280 and resistance in between around 1360 to 1380. And if we were to see a confirmed breakout above ideally 1380 with ideally a daily candle close above that level, in that situation, would likely see a continued move up towards roughly 1440 to 1450, give or take, as an important point of resistance. And then above that, we have a very important, a very significant area of resistance in between around 1530 to 1550. But it is quite likely the price could struggle a little more in the short term thanks to this bearish divergence, which is technically still active on the 4-hour Chainlink price chart, as I already warned about over the last couple of days, over the last couple of videos here on the channel. Right around here, I warned about, once again, a possible bearish divergence confirming again with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI, pointing towards potentially a bit of a pullback coming next as a very likely scenario. But now that that is played out, keep in mind, it is possible that this could possibly end very soon. At some point in the next 1 or 2 days, this could likely end, but at least as of recording this video, we've not yet actually confirmed an invalidation of this bearish divergence. So technically, as of recording this video, it is still active, it's still influencing the price, but just keep in mind, obviously, we saw a bearish divergence between these two highs that played out over just a couple of days, and then ultimately we saw a major bounce just a couple of days later. So once again, it's already played out over around 1 to 2 days now. So just don't be surprised if maybe at some point over the next day or over the next few days, it could invalidate. But once again, we're still looking relatively neutral, just bouncing around sideways in a bit of a sideways price range, as we can see. And once again, if you want to get set up ready to go to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, get set up ready to go using the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.